Let's go back quickly to Tathagata and charge them with fraud and solicitation for a bribe. Exactly. Exactly. Yelled 8 rules. Let's go and charge them. The 4 pilgrims turned and, with painful steps, once more ascended Thunderclap. In a little while they reached the temple gates, where they were met by the multitude with hands folded in their sleeves. Has the sage monk returned to ask for an exchange of scriptures? They asked, laughing. Tripitaka nodded his affirmation, and the Vara guardians permitted them to go straight inside. When they arrived before the great hero hall, Pilgrim shouted, Tathagata, we master and disciples had to experience 10,000 stings and 1,000 demons in order to come bowing from the land of the east. After you had specifically ordered the scriptures to be given to us, Ananta and Kasyapa sought a bribe from us. When they didn't succeed, they conspired in fraud and deliberately handed over wordless texts to us. Even if we took them, what good would they do? Pardon me, Tathagata, but you must deal with this matter. Stop shouting, said the Buddhist patriarch with a chuckle. I knew already that the 2 of them would ask you for a little present. After all, the holy scriptures are not to be given lightly, nor are they to be received gratis. Some time ago, in fact, a few of our sage priests went down the mountain and recited these scriptures in the house of one elder Zhao in the kingdom of Sravasti, so that the living in his family would all be protected from harm and the deceased redeemed from perdition. For all that service, they managed to charge him only 3 pecks and 3 pints of rice. I told them that they had made far too cheap a sale, and that their posterity would have no money to spend. Since you people came with empty hands to acquire scriptures, blank texts were handed over to you. But these blank texts are actually true, wordless scriptures, and they are just as good as those with words. However, those creatures in your land of the east are so foolish and unenlightened that I have no choice but to impart to you now the texts with words. Ananta and Kasyapa. He then called out, quickly select for them a few scrolls from each of the volumes of true scriptures with words, and then come back to me to report the total number. The 2 honored ones again led the 4 pilgrims to the treasure loft, where they once more demanded a gift from the Tang monk. Since he had virtually nothing to offer, Tripitaka told Sha monk to take out the alms bowl of purple gold. With both hands he presented it to the honored ones, saying, Your disciple in truth has not brought with him any gift, owing to the great distance and my own poverty. This alms bowl, however, was bestowed by the Tang emperor in person, in order that I could use it to beg for my Megare throughout the journey. As the humblest token of my gratitude, I am presenting it to you now, and I beg the honored ones to accept it. When I return to the court and make my report to the Tang emperor, a generous reward will certainly be forthcoming. Only grant us the true scriptures with words, so that His Majesty's goodwill will not be thwarted nor the labor of this lengthy journey be wasted. With a gentle smile, Ananta took the alms bowl. All those Vaira who guarded the precious towers, the kitchen helpers in charge of sacrifices and incense, and the honored ones who worked in the treasure loft began to clap one another on the back and tickle one another on the face. Snapping their fingers and curling their lips, every one of them said, How shameless! How shameless! Asking the scripture seeker for a present. After a while, the 2 honored ones became rather embarrassed, though Ananta continued to clutch firmly at the alms bowl. Kasyapa, however, went into the loft to select the scrolls and handed them item by item to Tripitaka. Disciples, said Tripitaka, take a good look at these, and make sure that they are not like the earlier ones. The 3 disciples examined each scroll as they received it, and this time all the scrolls had words written on them. Altogether, they were given 5,048 scrolls, making up the number of a single canon. After being properly packed, the scriptures were loaded onto the horse. An additional load was made for 8 rules to tote, while their own luggage was toted by Sha monk. As Pilgrim led the horse, the Tang monk took up his priestly staff and gave his Varokana hat a press and his brocade cassock a shake. In delight, they once more went before our Buddha Tathagata. Thus it is that sweet is the taste of the great pie, also known as product most refined of Tathagata. Note how Zhenzan has climbed the mount with pain. Pity Ananta, who has but love of gain. Their blindness removed by Buddha of the past. The truth now received, they have peace at last. Glad to bring scriptures back to the east, where all may partake of this gracious feast. Ananta and Kasyapa led the Tang monk before Tathagata, who ascended the lofty lotus throne. He ordered Dragon Tamer and Tiger Subduer, the two arhats, to strike up the cloudy stone chime to assemble all the divinities, including the 3,000 Buddhas, the 3,000 guardians, the 8 Vara guardians, the 500 arhats, the 800 nuns and priests, the upasakas and upasakas, the honored ones from every heaven and cave dwelling, from every blessed land and spirit mountain. Those who ought to be seated were asked to ascend their treasure thrones, while those who should stand were told to make 2 columns on both sides. In a moment celestial music filled the air as layers of auspicious luminosity and hallowed mist loomed up in the sky. After all the Buddhas had assembled, they bowed to greet Tathagata. Then Tathagata asked, Ananta and Kasyapa, how many scrolls of scriptures have you passed on to him? Give me an itemized report. The 2 honored ones said, we have turned over to the Tang court the following. 1. The Nirva A Sutra 400 scrolls. 2. The Akasagarbha Bodhisattva Dharmi Sutra 20 scrolls. 3. The Gracious Will Sutra, Major Collection 40 scrolls. 4. The Pranaparamita Sa Kaya Gatha Sutra 20 scrolls. 5. The Homage to Bhuta Tathata Sutra 20 scrolls. 6. The Anak Ara Granthaka Rokana Garbha Sutra 50 scrolls. 7. The Vimalakirti Nirdesa Sutra 30 scrolls. 8. The Varaketika Pranaparamita Sutra 1 scroll. 9. The Buddha Tsaritakavya Sutra 116 scrolls. 10. The Bodhisattva Pai, also known as Sutra 360 scrolls. 11. The Shura Gema Samadhi Sutra 30 scrolls. 12. The Artha Vinascaya Dharmapariyaya Sutra 40 scrolls. 13. The Avada Sakha Sutra 81 scrolls. 14. The Mahaprana Paramita Sutra 600 scrolls. 15. The Abhuta Dharma Sutra 550 scrolls. 16. The other Madhyamika Sutra 42 scrolls. 17. The Kasyapa Parivarta Sutra 20 scrolls. 18. The Panta Naga Sutra 20 scrolls. 19. The Bodhisattva Kuriya Nirdesa Sutra 60 scrolls. 20. The Magadha Sutra 140 scrolls. 21. The Maya Dalamahatantra Mahayana Gambhira Nyaguhaya Purasi Sutra 30 scrolls. 22. The Western Heaven Sastra 30 scrolls. 23. The Buddha Kaitra Sutra 1638 scrolls. 24. The Mahaprajnaparamita Sastra 90 scrolls. 25. The Original Loft Sutra 56 scrolls. 26. The Mahamayuru Vidyarajni Sutra 14 scrolls. 27. The Abhidharma Kosa Sastra 10 scrolls. 28. The Mahasaga A Sutra 30 scrolls. 29. The Sadharma Pu Arika Sutra 10 scrolls. 30. The Precious Permanence Sutra 170 scrolls. 31. The Gika Vinaya Sutrano scrolls. 32. The Mahayana Sradatpada Sastra 50 scrolls. 33. The Precious Authority Sutra 140 scrolls. 34. The Correct Commandment Sutra 10 scrolls. 35. The Vidyamatra Siddhi Sastra 10 scrolls. From the 35 volumes of scriptures that are in the treasury, we have selected altogether 5,048 scrolls for the sage monk to take back to the Tang in the land of the East. Most of these have been properly packed and loaded on the horse, and a few have also been arranged in a pannier. The pilgrims now wish to express their thanks to you. Having tethered the horse and set down the poles, Tripitaka led his 3 disciples to bow to Buddha, each pressing his palms together in front of him. Tathagata said to the Tang monk, "The efficacy of these scriptures cannot be measured. Not only are they the mirror of our faith, but they are also the source of the 3 religions. They must not be lightly handled, especially when you return to your South Jambudvipa continent and display them to the multitude. No one should open a scroll without fasting and bathing first. Treasure them. Honor them. Therein will be found the mysteries of gaining immortality and comprehending the way, the wondrous formulas for the execution of 10,000 transformations." Tripitaka kowtowed to thank him and to express his faith and obedience. As before, he prostrated himself in homage 3 times to the Buddhist patriarch with all earnestness and sincerity before he took the scriptures and left. As he went through the 3 monastery gates, he again thanked each of the sages, and we shall speak no more of him for the moment. After he had sent away the Tang monk, Tathagata dismissed the assembly for the transmission of scriptures. From one side stepped forth the Bodhisattva Guanxin, who pressed her palms together to say to the Buddhist patriarch, "This disciple received your golden decree that year to search for someone in the land of the East to be a scripture seeker. Today, he has succeeded. Altogether, his journey took 14 years, or 5,040 days. 8 more days and the perfect canonical number will be attained. Would you permit me to surrender in return your golden decree?" Highly pleased, Tathagata said, "What you said is most appropriate. You are certainly permitted to surrender my golden decree." He then gave this instruction to the 8 Vara guardians. "Quickly exercise your magic powers to lift the sage monk back to the east. As soon as he has imparted the true scriptures to the people there, bring him back here to the west. You must accomplish all this within 8 days, so as to fulfill the perfect canonical number of 5,048. Do not delay." The Vara guardians at once caught up with the Tang monk, crying, "Scripture seekers, follow us." The Tang monk and his companions, all with healthy frames and buoyant bodies, followed the Vara guardians to rise in the air astride the clouds. Truly, their minds enlightened, they bowed to Buddha. Merit perfected, they ascended on high. We do not know how they will pass on the scriptures after they have returned to the land of the East. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter.